How's it going, internets? I hope you're having a lovely day. It's that time again. It's time to get into some animation, time to get that imagination all cranked up, get into some creativity, and it's time to get inspired. And today's inspiration comes from Francisco Coching. And if you're not familiar with his work, check right over here. He is a wonderful, mainly one of the first really giant Filipino comic book artists, and he has such a great legacy. He really brought kind of the world of Tarzan to life and kind of localized it in their legends and everything, in their society and culture. And I think he's just such a great artist. He has his own take and his own style, but kind of feels like it has definitely some feelings of Jack Kirby in some areas, and also some Frazetta, and just a wonderful, amazing creation. I love his sense of anatomy. He's got this nice balance of kind of bony with muscle that really works really well. Let me see if I can find that one that I really... Again, he's great layout, great color, great sensibilities of his composition. But this one, I just wanted to take a second, and I realized that this one's a little bit blurrier because it was a smaller image, but I love the anatomy here, just the way that he pushes those hand poses, the whole line of action going through there, the perspective that he's got mastered in here, and just the way that he kind of works with his anatomy is very interesting. You've got these little tiny bulgy muscles mixed with the longer muscles, like this little give right there is an interesting choice to show that bend in the arm. I like how he does that. I really was fascinated by this piece in particular. I think it's a great, phenomenal job of really pushing your posing and taking. I do a lot of figure drawing, trying to push my posing and stuff. Learn more and grow as a creator. So figure drawing and gesture drawing and stuff is always something that I'm a huge fan of, and I think he really does a great job of bringing his own voice to that, and also just doing some great posing that really you can tell he's got a mastery of anatomy and of silhouette, and then this isn't really a pose that you could really capture in a photograph and then mimic, so it has to come from knowledge and creativity as well. And I think he does a wonderful job there. Again, just more phenomenal stuff. I like his monkeys, really interesting. I love seeing a new artist's voice. Someone who, look at that. That's such great line of action going through there. And really great sense of weight and balance here, that you can see that it's, he's got the lean over here and he's leaning back. It's one of those drawings that really tells a story, because there's something that had to have happened right before it, and there's something that has to happen right after it. This guy's got to fall forward a little bit more. This guy's probably got to take a step back to balance himself out. There's probably going to be another fight or combat stance. There had to have been something that came right before it, so it causes the viewer or the reader to add narrative to a single image, which is always a great thing to do if you can. So I did want to share a little quote that I was able to find from him. Unfortunately, like I said, he's big in the Philippines, but there isn't a lot that's translated of his actual discussions. But one thing I was able to find was he said that you have to love your craft, and that's something that you can see throughout if you've watched a lot of these videos together, which you're awesome if you have. Is a common theme that you have to make it important. You have to be okay to sacrifice things to do it. You have to love it. There's all different ways to say kind of that same aspect of, it's going to take a lot of hard work. You're going to have to make sacrifices, and you're going to have to really love it, or you probably won't ever get to the place that you maybe want to get without that extreme amount of love and care. There's another quote from a while back that was, no one's going to put in the effort if you don't. You can say, oh, this piece just wasn't there, but no one else is going to put that extra little touch in there if you don't do it yourself. It's it's kind of up to you as the creative person to add everything necessary to tell your story or to get your idea across or your message or whatever it is. So that being said, let's go ahead and get into some animation. This is the duck character. It's a free rig you can grab over at davidoreilly.com. If you're not familiar with what we'll be doing for the rest of the video, I'll go off and I find a rig that I've never used before. It's a free resource for you guys to play around with as well, and we kind of go from there. A little bit of over the shoulder, just hang out with me while I animate, a little bit of talking through the process, and most of all, the main goal of doing these videos each and every day is to hopefully encourage you guys and inspire you to go off and create your own unique, amazing, imaginative, and creative content each and every day, and that you're using your own voice and your own ideas and sharing them out with the world. And hopefully also just to help you feel like you're not alone in your art day or your creative day. So you feel like you have a buddy there in the trenches, learning and growing and sharing the wins and the losses each and every day. And one thing I just wanted to kind of mention here that I don't think I do enough. I try to. I am either a step in front of where you are or a step or 200 steps behind you or whatever. But I'm learning in this journey as well, so I never want to give the impression that I am a master of this and I have all the answers and I have the best workflow or I have the best technique or I know every single answer. I'm learning just like you guys are. I read books, I've gone, graduated from schools, I've worked with many wonderful people from great companies, but in the end, it's still a learning process for me. So in any of this stuff, this is just where I'm at right now. If you can learn either something maybe that you didn't know before or learn a way not to do it, like I said, the main goal of doing these videos is to hopefully encourage you guys and inspire you as well. And as well as to, push myself to do something new each and every day, keep those skills and that stuff active, at least for an hour a day with you guys. So enough about that, but I just wanted to make that clear that I'm just trying to share the knowledge that I have and where I'm at right now to hopefully be a resource that wasn't available when I was first learning. There's nothing really free out there that you could watch someone else animate as well. So most of this stuff is probably aimed more at the beginner/intermediate level rather than any sort of mastery at all. But maybe it'll give you ideas or see if, you like this kind of a thing. If you want to check out other schools that you might want to go to, I can definitely recommend Animation Mentor. I animate in Anim School. I've heard good things about as well. And all that stuff, just a quick Google search will bring up any of that kind of stuff. So I thought for this one, we would do a quick walk that would be something like deet, 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 deet. So 3 little steps and then a big step. And do a cycle like that. And like I said, it's probably weird, but I tend to animate by making sound effects. It's kind of different, but that helps me with my timing. I already know how I want it to play out, and if I can animate and make the sounds at the same time, it helps me understand the kind of timing that I want. Just how my brain works. Maybe you guys work differently, but I found that was really helpful for me once I got to the point of like, oh, I'll just make the sound effects for it, and if the sound effects work at the same time, then the timing's probably somewhere a little bit better. So let's start off with that. So we know it's going to be 3 little quick small steps and 1 bigger step, and I think the bigger step might be the same timing, or we might have about 2 more frames for it, just so it's a little bit different. So let's get started here. Set up our posing a little bit more. Maybe push that a little bit more. Okay. So let's go ahead and just make sure we have our NURB curves, NURB surfaces, and polygons selected. I feel like I've been talking too much today, so let's get into some animation. And let's go ahead and grab everything. We'll go ahead and save our file. We are using Autodesk Maya 2014 for today's video. For more information on that and all the stuff we've talked about so far, a link to this rig as well from the External Worlds collection can all be found down in the description below. Let's set our first key. So we know these are going to be quick, so let's try it on 10s, and maybe that will be too slow because these are small feet, so we'll see. I'll switch that back. And we'll just flick between those. those two. I think we're going to want to go 8s. And we need to go 60 frames probably on this then, so we can cycle back into it. Bring that to 50. This one, bring that to 50. Bring that back. And let's make sure we're doing this correctly. I think I goofed somewhere there, so let's see. Alright, now let's push these first steps down so they're on 8s. So let's go Window, Animation Editor, Graph Editor, and let's push that back so it's on 8s. And then 16, 24, 32, 40, and then the last one we want 10 frames for, make sure we're actually right there. I'll do that on 50. Okay, so I guess we don't need 60 frames. We'll go with 50, probably something like that. So that'll give us 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 2. But for this, I think I actually want 10 frames and 10 frames. So that would be 52 then. So we'd have 10 frames in, 10 frames out. One, two, three, four, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Yeah, that should be about right. Okay. So let's grab them both, and we're just going to hit S on our keyboard to lock in all of these main keys that we have right now. So we key all the attributes that we have on there. And let's go ahead and raise these little steps here so we can get the passing position down. Raise that one here. And then bring this one up there, bring it down, and then over. And let's see here. Keep that one down, raise it up. Up, but then I have 2 long steps. I just want so maybe we'll go 1, 2, 3, 4. But I need to cycle, so how are we going to approach that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hop. Maybe we'll do 5 hop. So we'll push this back to 40, and then we'll just have it hop into place, right? So then when we get here, set both of those, we'll delete that, delete that. Hold on, what are we missing here? So that needs to be there, okay. And this one needs to be in the middle. So that should be 5 steps in the and then we'll do a little hop, so we'll set that, delete there, get it there, hold it for 2 frames, and hold it for 2 frames, and we'll let's go ahead and only do 2 frames a hold. That feels a little too long. I think that'll be better. One more frame at the end. It feels a little too slow. Should we hold it? Let's see what happens if we just take it off. Maybe we'll shorten it. It should only be 10 frames anyway, so I don't know why we're going 12. Let's delete that and go 50. Bring that to there. 45. Okay. See if that feels better. Still feels maybe we'll have one more frame down there. Da, 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 da. All right, let's go with that for now. And then let's look at the hips. So let's go down here, up there, 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 down there, and then back to where we started. So let's see. So I'm going to translate here. Let's clean that up a little bit more. I feel like this last one should be up more though. Let's see. Feels too floaty though. Maybe we'll go down first. Try that. Because we want some sort down. It's a little too fast, so let's try it now. Takes too long to get up, so let's try that. Try and blend it a little bit more. That should be maybe at like 41. Let's try that. Maybe not so high. Maybe we can bring these feet up higher as well. feels like it's too long. From 36 to 42. So maybe, what do we have here? 40. Throw another key there. Push that there. Maybe just minimize it a little bit more. Not as much down. Let's see. Feels like it should be about a frame later. This should be about the highest point here. Still feels like there's one too many frames here. So let's just cut out a frame then. And we'll just do 49. What if we push these all down more? And that really stuck out, so let's see. Feels like it's too much now. Still feels like it's too far up, but if I cut out another frame, what if I just deleted that key there? I don't see that. And then put it one frame earlier. And then let's raise everything up a little bit more. Down towards the end because that's pretty harsh there. Maybe we should hold here for one more frame on the feet. Translate Y is too much now over there, so let's scale that back down. And let's see. Let's push it back to 50. Now we switch that up. Let's take everything and push it back one frame. So they would hit at 49 then and hold for that little bit. Should be higher though. still have a lot to do, but I think we got a working timing now that kind of works in a rough spacing pass. So let's start tweaking stuff in. Let's rotate to favor the front planted foot here, and back there, and over here, and over there, and over here, over there, and then back again to where we started. Okay, let's clean that up. Like I said, for me, I always try to do a good pass on my timing and my spacing first and really get that stuff locked in, and then start doing more of the animation. For me, that tends to be what really helps to solidify you know, the scene together and make sure that it's working, and then I can start really getting in there and mixing stuff up. Now, that's more of a quick method of workflow than looking at you know, like a pose to pose where you really lock in a really tough, tight pose, which is going to be better animation overall. But if you're working in a time frame where we try to do these together for about an hour or so and we want to get something done, it's kind of a workflow method that I found works for me for getting something at least half decent in an hour. That's around 60 frames or 48 frames or however many we end up being able to rip through. And let's offset what we did with the hips there in the top. This way, that way, and then back to where we started. Let's see. Okay, and that feels a little over the top, so let's scale that back a little bit more and balance it out. Still feels like it's a little too much, so let's keep scaling it back, because really we don't want to do too much wiggle, we're more just doing offset from the hips. Okay, and let's look at the hips themselves now, and let's push them over the planted foot. It's probably a little too much, but we'll scale it back. What's that on this rig? Is that the translate Y, I guess? And again, let's balance them out here. We don't need a ton of this. Maybe we'll put a little bit of overshoot there as well. Too much. This one we still want there. Okay. And let's do a little bit of tilt here. And over there, and over here, and over there, and over here. And do a little bit before we go back in. Just a little bit of overshoot. It's not really anything we need there because there's not a leg that it's really standing on, but it should recoil still from the move we did before that. So let's see. All right, Alright, let's look at the chest or the neck area here. Let's see if we can do a little bit of offsetting there. And this is probably too over the top. Well, we can always scale it back. Back again. And let's balance that out in our graph editor here. Let's check that out now. Normally I'd say that's too wiggly, but I kind of like having this character be a little bit wiggly and kind of cutesy. Cute little duck. Still scale it back a little bit more though. And yeah, let's scale it back on here. About 50% of that we have on the hips. Out. Alright, now let's look at the little backside here. Rotate that. Should we do side to side or more up and down on here? Which one do we want to exaggerate? Here we'll do exaggerate the side to side here. So let's start with it over here, over there, over here, over there, back in, over that way, and then back to where we started. Tone that down a little bit more, just because we're going to do some towards the middle and the tip of that as well, so it's already feeling a little over exaggerated, so I'll scale it back a bit more. And let's see the middle section here. Let's go 4, that this way, the way, drag it here, drag it there, this way, that way, this way, again. We'll do a little bit that way too. So let's see. Okay, and let's look at the tip there. And we'll go back to original timing that we did on the base. Over that way, this way. Maybe we'll even delay it a frame or two. Go back to where we were. Feels like there's too much rotate Y. Let's tone that down. And in this case, it would be what? Rotate X. Yeah. Okay. Scale that back. And then we'll have to scale it back on the chest here as well. think I have the rotate Z's the wrong way. Let's invert those. And let's see. Let's like the rotate Z here. Maybe we'll amp that up a little bit more. I'm gonna scale back. Let's get rid of it in the head. Let's see. Feels like it tips too much here. Try to balance that out a little better. Back just a little bit more. Maybe a little bit more in the chest. Let's rotate Z maybe. Feels like it's a little too much, but we'll see. Yeah. All right. So let's get rid of all these middle ones here. Let's see if that's any better. I want to tone down the rotate Z's here. Okay, now let's go back into the head. Get it so it doesn't tip so far from side to side. And maybe we can do a little bit of up and down on the head. Let's see here. Okay, so let's start going a little bit forward in Y here, a little bit back, forward, back, forward, back. Then we'll offset it in the chest. Back again. Okay. And let's see how we did there. press down, we'll try to offset that. So that'd be rotate Y here, pull it back, and forward, back, forward, back, forward, back, forward, back, forward. Pull it back there a little bit more. No, it might be too much. So let's see. Maybe it's here. And let's even that out. We're still gonna have a lot of playing around to do with this one. But it's getting there. It's getting there. Which frames do we do? That had one 40, 46, and 50. Okay. So we'll look at 40. We had one. And then at 46, we had one. Should probably push this one though. This should be back further. And this should be maybe less. Okay, so let's see. Maybe we could exaggerate that one a little bit more towards the front there so you get a little bit more recoil, and maybe delay it a frame as well. Might be a little too much. Let's push it back a frame and pull it up a little more. Okay, and let's look at the head. Drag that back here. Go forward and back. Too much. Scale it back to about half of what we have there. Maybe one frame sooner. Let's start maybe 36. Maybe about 38. Seems like it takes a little too long to get there. Okay, and then we'll add maybe a little bit of up and down on the head as well. Down, back, down, back, down, back, down, back. loosen it up a little bit more. It does feel a little too far back, so maybe we can push it universally forward a little bit more. Lower it towards the beginning. We don't need as much movement in the beginning. Is it too busy? Is it not busy enough? Let's see. Now remember, we are going to take everything off of this last one so that the cycle doesn't loop with a hole in it. So let's try that. I still feel like the head goes back a little too far here. So maybe a little bit less. Okay, and then let's land with this foot landing one frame sooner so we get a little bit of variation there. And maybe we could have this one leaving one frame later as well. It holds a little too long. That's enough frames. Let's look at the translate Y. I think we want to go a little bit higher here. Maybe we could do a little bit of rotate. Or what would that be? I don't want the legs to get so straight. Just lift them up a little bit higher there. A little bit higher. Just so we don't get so much snap in that position. Start even getting a little bit higher here too. Just to give a little bit of bend to that knee. Then I'm going to need to do some rotate X so the toe drags. feels a little better. So you don't get so much of a snap in that straight leg. You start to see a little bit of bend there. Alright, now let's look at the other leg for that little jump. Let's go a little bit higher here. Rotate it down. Let's see it now. Okay. And let's drag that foot some more. Rotate it up and slap it down. Okay, you got to do a little more cleanup there. Delete that one if you can. And this one may be too much rotate to begin with. Let's see it. It does feel like it drags a little too much. So maybe we just will try to lift that up a little higher. And we'll start letting it get into there a little bit quicker. Maybe we'll have it land one frame sooner as well. Just so we can get that hold. You know, I liked having a little bit of variety. So maybe we can let this one go one frame longer. Okay. And let's get the translate Y here. Let's maybe let that go a little bit higher. And maybe a little less drag. And the rotate X there does feel a little extreme. Is there any eye controllers on this one? It'd be kind of cool to do a little blink in that jump too. Doesn't appear like there is though. I feel like we do a little too much back in the head now that I look at it. So let's scale that back a little bit more. Alright, let's look at the tail here. little too slow. Let's go about 2 frames sooner on that. Can't go too much, or else it doesn't have a delay on it. And let's look at the middle section here. Yeah, let that one go down there, back. Let go curl up there. Not do too much right in the beginning. And same with this portion. We'll make sure that we start off in a better place here. And let's look at the tip. We'll go ahead and throw a key there. Still curl it in here. Flick it out there and go back up. I think it might be a little too much here, so let's scale that back. The head might be a little too much still. Scale it back a little bit more. Tone down the head moves in the beginning a little bit. A lot of tweaking with this one. Trying to get the right balance. It's a small rig, so you can do a lot goes a long way here. Okay, and let's look at the feet now. Let's go ahead and drag the feet back a little bit. There. Okay, and the other one, just so we get a little bit of change of shape in there. What if we still had the head recoiling a little bit? It's alright, I'll keep it. Alright, and let's look at the toes here. See what we can do on these little toes. So I'll set them there. I'll set them at 8, 18. So at 16 we could have them rotate up and down. And 12 we'll have them drag there a little bit. And set them at 24. Have them drag down there. Lift up at 32, and then flat out. 40, we'll have them drag there a little bit. Let's see how that plays. Alright, those lift ups feel a little too over exaggerated, so let's scale them back. Let's see. And maybe a little more up. Alright, let's look at the back one here. We'll hold it at 8. And back again at 17, 24, 33. So 15 will have it go up. 11 will have it drag down. So it's 3 frames will drag it. And then 1 frame after the contact it'll go down. Keep there. Go and drag it there. Keep it dragged. Make sure it's zeroed out there. And up. Maybe 1 frame sooner start that. That way it's a little bit different timing from those other toes. Okay, yeah, let's look at the other side here. Look at these toes, starts to loosen up the feet a little bit more. So I'll set them there. 10, 16, 26. And 32 should be our next one. And then 42 and 50. I think we'll see. See if we did that somewhat correctly. Drag them down there, lift them up, flap them, drag them down, lift them up, slap down, drag them down, lift them up. Maybe they never fully get down. Let's see. Do you think we should have a little bit of one? And I'll probably do a little bit less overall on the slap down. Yeah, let's see now. Still feels a little over exaggerated. I feel like we could drag them a little bit more though. Really drag them down. do a little more, translate Y on these steps. They're a little bit higher. And maybe a little bit more on this side as well. Okay, and do we have anything for these little wings on the side? Anything we could do there? Thinking maybe there would be a separation between there, but it just looks like it's the root here. I still feel like the head just has too much movement on it, so let's just scale that back a little bit more. I mean, obviously we can play it up more, but we don't have that much time to really let it do that little bit of recoil there. So we have to keep it kind of minimal. Alright, let's watch it, see if there's anything else we really want to play up with this one. Do you think this might be a little too much rotate here? So let's calm it down just a little bit. Maybe just one more frame. Feels like it has a little bit of stutter in that toe. Let's see if that fixed it. Feels a little better. There's just like kind of a couple of frame hold there on where the position was. Still feel like that recoils just too much. Alright, I think we'll call it. It's probably been longer than an hour or so for this one. So let's take a look back at where we started. We're looking at the beautiful work of Francisco Coching, and he said, you have to love your craft. I couldn't emphasize this enough. There are definitely days that I know for a fact that, you know, it is, even if it's a passion, you know, pushing forward can be difficult, and without that love you might not do it. So find something it is that you're passionate about, find something that it is that you love, and dive into it, throw your whole self into it, and take another step each and every day towards mastering whatever medium it is that you're passionate about. I love you guys lots. Thanks for all the likes and subscribes. I think this one was fun. It was definitely kind of a mix-up of doing a cycle mixed with a little bit of uncycle, and something a little bit different. So thanks for bearing with me. Hopefully you guys learned something, or learned something not to do, or at least got something creative stirring within you, so that you can go out and create your own stuff using your own unique voice and your own wonderful imagination. And I'm getting rambly, so I had fun with you guys. I love you lots. Thanks for all the likes and subscribes. That'll wrap it up for today, so we will see you for some more animation tomorrow.